Okay, so I think I already have a width 100% for this previous button. Sorry. Okay. Yes, it's. Let me just change this guy to calculate button. This guy. And then let me return the width. Okay. And then for this let me give this guy's class of calculation button. Calculation button. And then I can come here and say dot this. I'll copy some of the attributes here. I'll remove this guy, this width. And then I can say margin should be okay. That will work. That is not working. I can say width should be 25%. Or let's say 20%. And then we can say this guy style should be margin is auto, so everything will be at this. Everything should be at the center. But again, this is not a front-end class. I don't want to bore you with this. So now we have this. We have these 4 buttons: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Let me comment out this one. Or let me just remove itself. And removing it means we won't need this style again. All right. So in our script, what are we going to do? We'd say, since we have more than one button here, we can use class for them. And then we can say document.get element by ID, calculation btn. No, get element by class name. Calculate btn. Right? Is it calculate btn or calculation btn? It is calculation btn. So calculation button. And then we want to do what? We want to add event listener to our click event. And what event are we adding? For now, let's just say console.log button is clicked. And then we should. All right, let's do it this way. Let's create a new function. And say perform calculation. Right, this will receive the event. And here we can say console.log button is clicked. So what callback are we passing here? We're passing the perform calculation. So let me remove this. And if I come back here, inspect my page, come to my console, I'm already having an error. Is that a function? All right, so this is going to return an array. This is going to return an array. All right, let's just change this to get elements by ID. And we can use calculate button. Yes, we can use calculate button. But let's use add btn. And then this should be subtract btn. This should be multiply btn. And then this should be divide btn. So the reason we may not be able to use the class which I wanted to use earlier is because getting elements by class name will return more than one element, and then this add event listener method may not work for that. Instead, it will work for a single element. So now that we have this, we can say add btn for this event. All right, for this element, we want the onClick event to be perform calculation. Right, so let me come back to my page. I don't have an error anymore. Click on add. All right, so these buttons are submitting the form. So what do? We say events.events default. So let me reload again. You can see the moment I click on the button, the number of these text on the console increases again, and again. All right, so we've done that. What do I want us to do? I want us to be able to get the element, the button that is clicked, the particular button that is being clicked. And how do we do that? To say constant click button is what? Event.target. Sorry, events.element. No. Events.target. It should be target. Yes. So, and then I want to say console.log click button. So let me comment this out, and then coming back here, I should have the click button here. And see that. So what do I want to do? I want to add an attribute to this place. I want to say data operator. So it's add. Let me say plus. So this data attribute is when you want to add an extra attribute to your element and you want to use it somewhere else. Again, data operator is it should be subtract, and then I'll move this. And then, okay, this should be divide and this should be multiply. Right, so I want to come here and say, I have the click button. I want to come here and say console.log click up button dot get attribute. This should be, sorry, this should be that, if I'm correct. If I'm correct, I'm not sure that will work. Yes. A moment, please. All right, so
Okay.
this should be click button dot get attributes, and then which attribute are we getting? Data operator. So if I click that, that should work. Yes, so we have our operators here. Let me reload. And as you can see, we have that here. So if I come to, I'll be using my switch statement here, right? I can say, let result be zero. Or not, let's just use let result. And then I want to say switch. Yes, switch statements. What are we switching? We are switching for this guy, this attribute, that's data operator. So when our data operator is plus, we want to say result is what? We are getting our first value and second value. Let me just copy this guy and put it here. Sorry, and I'll be removing this. I can even remove this as well. I can remove this and bring it here. I'm trying to make this thing as clean as possible. All right, so we are switching between the operators, and we are saying when the operator is plus, we want to say first number plus second number, right? And then another case, if it is minus, we want to say result should be first number minus second number. And again, we are breaking this our switch statements. Why are we breaking? So that once you are done finishing this time, we are not going to the next case. Another case is for division, and we can say results should be first number divided by second number. Again, we are breaking. And then the last case is multiplication. So we can say the results should be first number times second number. We are breaking that. And then if there's no case here, we can say console. We can say console.error should log an error to the console. Invalid operator. Right, and again we have this. We already have our results. What are we doing with our results? We are saying the result inputs. After our switch statement, we are saying result inputs. We are getting the input, and then we are putting this result value to the value of that result. So let's do that. Let's review our code from the beginning. First thing is we are preventing the default attribute, the default behavior. Secondly, we are getting the first number and the second number. Then we are getting the actually click button, which is event the target. And then after getting that button, we are getting the attribute. What attribute are we getting? That's the data operator, which is this attribute. And what are we doing with this attributes we are getting? We are switching. We are checking for which of these cases have these attributes, or which of these cases is the value of the attributes. So if it is that case, it will perform this logic and break. This break statement is always used when you want to break something, when you want to break an executing task, something like a loop, something like a switch statement, either for loop, while loop, or a switch statement. And again, after getting all these things, we want to put our results inside this result input. So are we good to proceed now? Are we good to proceed now? I think yes. So let me come here. I should have 100, I should have 500. All right, so I think we have an issue here. Okay, so let's just pass these guys to integer, pass int, because it is doing concatenation, so we should convert them to integers. Pass int, right? And then let me come back here. Add 100, add 50. We have 150. We have 50. We have 5,000, and we have 2. All right. So if I come here, let me add another button and say unknown. And let me just put maybe dots here, which is this dot is not any of these cases. It's not the addition, it's not the subtraction, it's not the division, and it's not the multiplication. So which means it will run this default console.error. So let me do that. Let me say 100 and 50. I should have Let me do that again. All right. I should change this to unknown BTN, and then coming back here, I can say unknown BTN. So let me just reload. I have 100, I have 50, and I can say unknown. You can say I have invalid operator, and this error, this undefined. Okay, the specified value undefined cannot be passed, or it is out of range. So this is in line 132. It is in line 132. So we can say at the end of the day, if we have a result, if we have a value in our results, we can now do this. As a matter of fact, we have a value in our results, try getting the result input and assign this value. So let's come back here, add 100, add 20. So yes, I'm not getting that error again because I don't have, I already added a check to be sure that we have the results before calling this, before running this logic, before running this assignment. So I can remove this, it is no longer needed. What we need now is the perform calculation, which is just one function. It is just one function that's doing our calculation. Is anybody lost? Does everyone understand what I just did? So let's remove this unknown button. Let's just comment it out. And we have our assignment. Are we all still connected? Does anyone have any question regarding this assignment? Is there any way you don't understand? Like the switch statements, the units or ID? All right. You want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say that. Can you kindly open your VS Code so I get to look at the function? I wanted to read through the function, but you took it away.
Does anyone else have any question? Then I believe we are good to go. All right. Today, okay, Daniel.
Please, I want to understand that prevent default behavior.
All right. So in HTML, when you have a button like this and inside a form, the default behavior is to submit this form. And when you submit the form, it tends to reload the page. Let me do that so you see it. Let me just comment this out. And then let me try clicking on. You can see, if you notice this page, you can see the page is being reloaded. Let me do something. Let me add 10 or 100 or 10. You see that? It is reloading the page, and when you reload the page, the data in your input field are no longer there. So how do we prevent that? We prevent the default behavior of this. Yeah, we prevent the default behavior of this event. Does that answer your question? All right. So to today's lesson, To today's lesson, we'll try to be as fast as much as we can. Today's lesson, we'll be talking about objects, JavaScript objects. JavaScript objects. And what are objects? Objects are basically, sorry, give me a moment. All right, I'm back. So I was talking about JavaScript objects. Objects are basically things. Yes, objects are things. Objects are things. Just like you can have a phone as an object, you can have a car as an object, you can have a pen, it is an object, and you can have someone, a person is an object, and then a cat is an object. So objects are basically things. And how do you create an object in JavaScript? I'm going to create a new file here, objects.js, and then I'm coming to my index.html, comment this out and say objects.js. So what are we going to do? Let's just say console.log object.js is loaded. So let's come back to our page. We are removing all these parts, and we are back to our very beautiful page. All right, so let's come to our console. You can see we have. Where do I have like freely permanent page? All right. You can see we have objects.js is loaded. So how do we create an object in JavaScript? We declare an object by saying constant car. Let's say we want to create a car, and we use curly braces. Then we can say the color of the car is blue, right? The model is let's say Toyota. Let's say the model. Toyota Camry. Let's say the type is a I think it's a sedan car, right? And then we can see what else? We can say mileage. Or let's say total. Let's just say mileage. What mileage means is the total distance the car has covered. Let's say 200,000. So now we have a car as an object. How do we declare an object? We use curly braces, and inside the curly braces we have the attributes and the value. The attributes and the value. Attributes, value, attributes, value. And that is how we create an object. That is how we create an object in JavaScript. That is how we create an object in JavaScript. Again, let me come back and reiterate on that. To create an object, you declare the variable name. You have your curly braces. The attribute of the object are always inside the curly braces. And then you have the attribute and the value. That's the name of the attribute and the value. The name of the attribute and the value. Name of the attribute and the value. Name of the attribute and the value. Another way we can create an object, it's still the same way. We can say user, constant user is what? User name, user Ayomide. And then after doing that, you most likely want to put comma. Yes, comma after your declaration. And then you say other name. It should be first name. And then other name is Michael. You can say gender is male. And then you can say occupation. Occupation is a programmer. Let's say software engineer. And then we can say location is Nigeria. So this is how we create an object in JavaScript. And how do we access a value of our object? You can come here and say console.log car dot. You can see my what's it called? My IDE is already suggesting the values for me. So I have the color, the mileage, the model, and the type. That's for my car. So what do? I say color dot I say car dot model. So if I come back here, you can see I already have Toyota Camry. Why? Because I'm logging into the console. Console.log the model of this car. I have Toyota Camry. Let me change this and say I want to log the type. It is the type I need. See, I have sedan. And I can still come here and say console.log console.log user.name, user.first name. Yes, user.first name. You can see I have sedan and Ayomide. Let me change this thing to Samuel Johnson. So now I have sedan and Samuel. Right now I want to say just give me a moment. I want to add another attribute to my already declared car. Right. I can say, let me just comment this out. I can say my car dot color. Maybe I repainted the car. I want to change the color to white. Right. I can now come here and say console.log car.color. What did I do? I replaced the color of my car. So yes, I now have white. And I can add an attribute that my car doesn't have before. All right, I can say, sorry. I can say car.as alloy ring. Ring, this is ring. Yes, as alloy ring is true. Yes, and then I can just come here and say console.log car.as alloy ring. I want to log that in, so I can say I have true. This attribute is not there before. Maybe my car doesn't even have a tire. Sorry, maybe Samuel Johnson's car doesn't even have a tire. And then now we're having an alloy rim. So coming back here and reload, I have the value of this attribute. I want to confirm we are still on the same page. Can everyone still hear me? All right. Okay, good. So now that we have our object, we know how to declare an object. Let me create another object. Let me create another object. I say constant. Let me comment this out. Yes, comment this out as well. Let me bring this here. All right. So we want to create another object and say dog. the name of our object is dog, and say you can say the breed is what is Rottweiler. Not sure I know how to spell this. I can say bingo. Yes, it is a bingo. And then we can say the color should be brown, right? So I can say console.log, yes, dog dot, okay, let's give it a name. Let's say name is Sharon. I know most of us have this local dog in our area, and then we can say console.log the name of the dog. So I can come here, reload, and I have Sharon. So I can add a method to this object, right? Yes, I can add the method to this object. And what are method? Method are the things that this object can do. These are attributes, right? A dog has a name, it has a breed and a color. However, a dog can eat, a dog can bark, a dog can speak. So I can say, I want to say speak. When a dog is speaking, what you do is you hear, let me just do console.log. Or is this not how we do that? All right, so here you are passing in a function. Why? Because it is a method. A method doesn't get triggered until you manually trigger it. It's just something the object can do, right? Just like you're a human now. You can sleep, you can eat, right? But you only eat when you want to eat. You only speak when you want to speak. Right? So what do? I'll come here and say, I have my dog and I want it to speak. I'll just say dog.speak. And this is me calling a function, which happens to be a method inside this dog attributes. I guess someone has a question. Very good. You want to ask something? Are we still connected? All right. Good news. You want to ask something? I guess we can proceed. So, like I said, a method is actually a function, usually a verb, a verb, a verb, like noun, pronoun, verb, of what the object can do, and we want our dog to be able to speak. Let's say I remove. Okay, let me try to call a function that doesn't exist. That's a method that doesn't exist in this attribute, which means our dog cannot walk. I want our dog to walk. However, I didn't put that this dog can walk, which means this our dog will not be able to walk. Or it is the owner, which is this Samuel Johnson. I'll be bringing food for the dog. She gets this dog cannot walk. Why? Because we didn't add this walk method to it. So if I come here, come to my code, you can see I already have dog.walk is not a function. Blah, 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 blah. This thing is telling me that this dog doesn't have this attribute. Sorry, it doesn't have this method. It cannot perform this thing you want it to perform. And how do you make this dog perform that? You can say, walk should be an arrow function. This is an arrow function. This is a function, but it is being passed as a value, right? And then we want our dog to walk. When it is walking, what should happen? We want to say console.log, I am walking, right? And then if I come back here and say walk, you can say I am walking. This should be walk. This should be walk. Yes, I'm walking. You can say I am walking. So the dog is walking. However, we may want to pass the destination this dog will be going to. You can say You want this dog to go to a naming ceremony, so the dog can find what the dog is going to eat. Why? Because it is a bingo, and these local dogs, you can only see them where they are doing burials and so on. So you can say this dog should walk to where they are doing burial, and we can say. So what we are going to do is, you want me to walk? Yes, I'll walk, but you tell me where I'm going to walk to, which is the destination. So this method is going to receive the destination, right? And then when I'm walking to destination. When the dog is walking, it is walking to destination, right? And then when we want the dog to walk, we can say we want this dog to walk to let's just say home. Maybe the dog has finished eating somewhere and we want the dog to go back home. We just say this dog should walk home, and then come back here. You can see we have I am walking home. I hope I'm communicating with someone. All right, so let me reiterate on what I said. To declare an attribute, to declare an object in JavaScript, you declare your variable and put your curly braces. And inside your curly braces, you have your name, the name of your property, and then the value. The name of your property, the value. The name of your property, the value. Name of your property, the value. And here we have the name of the property, the value, name value, method, and what we want to happen when this method is being triggered. Method and what we want to happen when this method is being triggered. Do we understand that? Oh, good. So yes, that is that about JavaScript objects. Now we'll be going to arrays. All right, so let's do something. Let's say, let me create two cars here. I have car, let me just say car 1. And then I can say car 2. So Mr. Johnson has a blue Camry, and he also has a white Toyota Hilux. Yes, it's an Hilux. Oh, let's say he has an SUV. So this should be I think this can be Lexus. It's white. Let's say the mileage is still at 100%, on 100 miles, right? So what are we going to do? We are going to say cars. This user has more than one car, so we have cars, and it's going to receive an array. I taught you array. Array is a list of objects, so it's going to receive an array of car 1 and car 2, right? So I'm going to, let me just come here and say, let me comment this out. No, let me comment this out and say console.log. I can log my old user to the console.log user. So if I come back to my console, you can see I have the user here. The first name is Samuel. Other name is Johnson. Gender is male. Occupation is software engineer. And the location is Nigeria. And then this guy, this Samuel Johnson, has 2 cars. You can see 2 cars here. If I expand this list, I can see, okay, he has a blue Toyota Camry and a white Hilux. And then let me just say, let me say introduce. So I want this user to introduce himself. What is he going to do? As if he will say, let's say constant message is what? This is an arrow function, so it should have this. My name is, I think this dot first name, I'm not sure. Yes, this dot first name. So this is saying that this object, dot first name. So I'm trying to get the value of this particular object that I'm inside. So this dot first name is dot other name. My name is, it should be my name is, right? I currently reside in somewhere, sorry, somewhere in where this dot location. So my name is the first name, the other name. I currently reside somewhere in this location. Stop. And I have what? I have very good. So I have these dot cars, yes, dot cars, dot lengths. You should be able to get the length of this car. That's the number of cars he has. So in an array, you'll be able to get the total number of items on the array by just saying dot length, right? And I can say cars. Let me do something. Yes, what rather? Okay, so my name is so. I currently reside in so area, and I have so pass. So what do? I say console.log message. So what do I do with this introduce? I want to trigger this introduce. I have the user. I want this user.introduce. I want the user to introduce himself. So let me come here. I already have an error. It says property of length. Where is it? User cars the length. Let me see. That cars is what? This that cars. And then I should be able to say cars like length. I'm not getting that. All right, I can say number of cars. So I can say this dot cars dot length. So I can now come here and say I have number of cars. So what am I doing? I'm putting the length of these cars. That's the total number of cars he has. Total number of values in this array. I'm putting it in this variable and then putting the variable here. So that should give us what we want. I guess we are having this issue again. Cannot speak property of undefined length. Let's do something. Let me say constant items is 1, 2, up to 5. And then I can say console.log items dot lengths. Yes. You can see that's working here. However, it appears not to be working here. I guess we are doing something wrong. So what do you do? All right. Okay, let me try checking something. Let's try saying class dot length. I'm not sure that will work, but let's try it. Length. And then we want to introduce this guy. Let me do something. Let me remove these cars. So it's only giving us issues. All right. And then let me comment this out. Okay, so the problem is that this is not getting the attributes. It's not getting the value we expected. Cars is in user. Yes, it is in users. It is in users. Okay, I guess let's try changing this to direct function and not an arrow function. I think yes, we are good. So here we are using a direct function, which is the normal function and not an arrow function. So let's bring back our cars. Yes, Control Z. Yes, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Z. All right, so let me, okay, I'm logging the message to the console, and here I'll do function. And so there's something about this function. It is the function we wanted to use, this one. It is an anonymous function. And when I say anonymous function, it is like a standalone function. You can't assign, you can't, sorry, how do I put this? It is an anonymous function. You can't link it to say something. Let's say you have this introduce method. You can't put an anonymous function because this function has to be aware who this is. So in this case, anonymous function can't work. So let's come again. You can say my name is Samuel Johnson. I currently reside somewhere in Nigeria and I have 2 cars. Right. So back to the main discussion. This is an object. This is a method. A method will always give you a method will always receive a function, either an anonymous function or the normal or the normal JavaScript function. And that is it about objects. Let me see if I can get you an example. One more example. Does anyone have any question at this point? Okay, Daniel.
So please, what is the use of this dot length?
Sorry?
The using of this dot cars dot length. Why don't we use cars dot length directly?
Let's try using that. So you can see what we have. You can see it's saying cars is not defined as object. So the reason is that it expects car to be a variable, not an attribute. Are you getting me? So when you say this, you are saying get the car's attribute of this object. And what object is that? This particular instance of this object. Do you understand that? All right. So that is that about JavaScript. All right, Adibawale.
Yeah, so for the methods, at
Yes.
what point should one use arrow function or the normal function for the methods?
All right. You should
States
use.
situation that the passport.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Okay, I said is there a special usage or are there rules to consider in the usage of an arrow function or a normal function?
All right. So as you can see during this class, with the arrow function, we were not able to access the attributes in this instance. So in a case where you want to access the attributes in an object like this, you may want to use the direct function. And if you are not accessing the attributes, if you are just receiving something or you are not even receiving anything, you can use an anonymous function, which is an arrow function. This function doesn't have anything to do with the parent or anything. It just gets triggered and does what it has to do. But when it has to get values from the parent or assign value to the parent, you want to use a function like this. Does that answer your question? Oh, I didn't know I was muted. All right, so we are done with objects for now. We are going to arrays. And if you can remember, I already created an array.js and then I linked into my HTML. All right, if you can remember, I told you you can declare an array by saying constant users should be an array. An array is something like this. It's like a list like this. And then you say, you can say Daniel. Right, you can say people only. You can say Lindwell. Lindwell. I hope I'm correct. And you can say, here's where we can say we have good news. All right, so we have our users. Let me plug this to the console. Users. We have all right, so you can see I have 4 names here. Let me change this to names and not users. Names and not users. So this should be names. And then how do I, sorry, should be names, yes. First of all, how do I get a list of values, the total number of values I have in this array? I'll say names of lengths. You can see I have 4, right? So in our last class, in one of our classes, I said JavaScript, I said array indexes doesn't start from 1. It starts from what? Someone should drop it in the comment section. It doesn't start from 1. What does it start from? It starts from 0, which means, thank you, Gideons. You were the first person to drop that. All right, so it starts from 0, which means the index of this is 0, the index of Adebowale is 1, Lindway is 2, and Goodrich is 3. So if I'm trying to access something like Adebowale, I'll do console.log names and then 2 names. And then I'm saying this, I'm telling this guy that inside this array, you should get me the one with the index of 2. So if I come here, I'm getting Lindway. Why? Because I have 0, 1, 2. I'm trying to get Adebowale, so I should give 1. And you can see I have Adebowale. All right. Another thing we can do, is we can say we want to change the value of the third, we want to change the value of the third index. That's of the third item, which is the second index, 0, 1, 2, which is the index 2. Let me put it that way, the index 2. So what do we do? Say names 2 should be linked way. I don't want to change this away from the name. So let me just pick these. Should be I hope I'm getting this. Yes. So all right. So what do I want to do? I want to log my names again. Console.log names. As you can see, I already replaced the value of what I have in index 2. That is how to change the value. And then if you want to append another value, I can as well come here and see. I can as well come here and say names dot I think append doesn't not append here. All right, we'll come back to adding things to the array. What do we want to do again? We want to say console.log. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to remove this ones. Yes, this one I wasn't supposed to remove it. So what we want to do again is to say console.log names dot sort. So what I have here, I have Daniel Adebowale India good news. So if I come back here, you can see I have Adebowale first, Daniel second, Goodings third, and that's Limwe third. Why? Because the sort method is now sorting them alphabetically. I hope you understand that. All right, so to add an item to this array, maybe you want to add another user, you can come here and say names.append. Sorry, what am I saying append? Name.push should do what? Should add Ayomide, right? And then I can now come here and say console.log names. So if I come here, you can see I now have Ayomide. You can see I now have Ayomide. All right. Also we can map through these guys. We can map through the array. Let's say we want to do something with each of these arrays and then return back what we've changed them to. We may want to add let's just do something. Let's just play with this. We want to say names.map. So what we map to, it will receive a callback function, which is an anonymous function. And inside this anonymous function, we have access to the value, to the name. So here we are working with names, and here we have singular name. This is plural, this is singular. Here we have a list of names, and here we have just one name. What are we doing with this name? I want to say this should give us back name plus let me just put edited. So again, I want to come back here, also the log names. All right, so when we use the map method, it is returning something. It is not overriding it is not overriding the first array. It is returning something. Well, so what do I want to do? I want to say constant new names, or let me say edited names should be names.map blah 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 blah, and then I want to say console.log edited name. So you can say I have Adebowale edited, Daniel edited. Let me do something. Okay, I have Adebowale edited, Daniel edited, Ludes edited, Lingui edited, and Ayomide edited. So I think this may be a little bit confusing. So let me do that again. I want to say constant edited names is what names.map. I want to map through each of these names. It will receive a callback function. Inside this callback function, we have access to. Let's do it this way. Let's put the original function, which we can say function is, right? And inside this function, we have access to name. So what are we doing? We are returning. So this thing I just did here is return this. So we are returning name plus edited. And then I'm having an issue here because I'm declaring to these two constant variables as the same name. So let me comment this out. And then I think this should be names. Yes, plural names. So I'm working with this name. I'm mapping through all the names inside these names. Yes, inside these variables, inside this list. And then inside this function, I have access to the particular name. Yes, to the particular name and the index, not just the name. I have access to the index as well. You can see I have the value, which is the string, index, which is a number, and the array. I think that's the whole array. Here I want to use just the name and the index. So I can just come here and say index. Right. So what do I do here? I want to say edited index. It should work. You have it. Okay. Yes, edited index. So if I come back here, you can see I have edited 0, edited 1, edited 2, 3, and 4. Likewise, for this one, I also have access to the index. I have access to everything I have access to here. So I can as well still come here and say index. Sorry. So let me comment this out. You can see I still have the same thing. I have the edited 0 and blah 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 blah. What do I want to do? I want to say index plus 1. You can see I have edited 1. Why? Because I've added plus 1 to the actual index. So instead of it being 0, to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And as well, I think I can say minus 1. So edited minus 1 and so on. So when you map through an array, you are tweaking the content of that array. You are doing something to that content of that array and then returning the new value of the item on the array. Of the item on the array. I hope I'm communicating with someone. All right, so let's do something. Let's come back to this our objects, and here we have Mr. Samuel Johnson that has 2 cars. Right. What something his 2 cars doesn't have? His 2 cars doesn't have leather seats. Let's say leather seats. Hope I'm getting this leather. This leather seat is false. It should be seats. Yes, leather seats. And then this one too doesn't have leather seats. Abby. So if I come back here, sorry, let me reload. Let me just comment everything I'm looking to this control here out. Right. So let me come back to my HTML, comment this and uncomment these objects because that's what we are working with at this time. All right, so we have Samuel Johnson and his descriptions again. So let me log this our Samuel Johnson to our console again. So what do I do? I say console.log. I think I have that here already. Console.log user. Now comment that. Come back here. You can see I have this guy who has 2 cars, and both cars doesn't have leather seats. Where's that leather seat again? Yeah, leather seat is false. Leather seat is false. All right, so let's do something. Let's say I want this user, when I call a method, right? When I call a method in this user, I want it to, I don't know where he wants to get it. I just want 2 cars of this user to have leather seats. And how do we do that? We come here and say, get leather seats for cars. For cars, right? This will receive a function as well. And then what do? We have, for instance, new cars. You take your car to where they are doing leather seats, and then they'll give you back your car. So I want to save this car as new cars, and I want to say this dot cars dot mark. So we want to do it for each of these cars, and I can say car, then say car dot leather seat. Okay, let me just do a proper function. Function, I receive the car, and then I can say car dot leather seat is true, right? And then we are returning the car with leather seats. So we are returning the car. So these new cars now will now have leather seats. I can now say, let's just log these new cars to the console. Console of log new cars. And what do I do? I want to change this to get leather seats for cars. So coming back here, you can see inside this place where I'm logging my new cars, I have leather seats to be true. Why? Because I've iterated each of these cars and I've added leather seats to them. So what do I do to override the ones Mr. Samuel has? Why? Because if you check here, we still have the ones that doesn't have the leather seats. Okay, I think we have that already. This is supposed to be available. Sorry. So I'll say just for us to be on the safer side, we can say these dots new cars, or sorry, these the cars should be new cars. And then I want to say changed all cars to leather seats. Then I can just comment this out rather, and then come back here. All right, so I'm having this console.log changed all cars to leather seats, which means this our method is being run. So how do we confirm that we now have leather seats? We want to console.log our users again, our user rather, and inside this user we have these 2 cars that now has leather seats. Yes. So let me just log the cars of this user. So I'm doing console.log users that's user.cars. Yes, that's an array. So let me reload. Users.car is giving me 2 arrays, which is this first car, it has a leather seat, and the second car, it has a leather seat. Do we understand that? All right. Another thing I want us to do is to say Mr. Johnson has another car, which is car 3. Right? It is a Lexus. Yes, it is an SUV, but this one is black. It is a Lexus. It is an SUV. All right. Let's change this to sedan. Let's change this to 50,000. let's say this one has leather seats. So it has 3 cars. So let's just add the car 3 to his cars. Now we want to get the cars Mr. Samuel has that are Lexus. Are you getting me? The car Mr. Samuel has that are Lexus. So what do? We'll come back here and say console.log user.cars filter. We want to filter to the ones that have letter C. So inside this filter, again, we have this filter will be receiving a function, either an arrow function or a normal function. So I can say an arrow function, right? And I'll have access to a particular car here. So what this will do is it will iterate through all the cars, it will give me the cars and do whatever I want to do with it. This function expects true or false. So I want to say return car.model is what? Is Lexus. So what this is going to do is that it is going to check. We want to filter down to the cars that the models are Lexus. So what this filter method will do is that it will iterate through the cars, of this user. It will iterate through the cars of this user, and the cars is an array. So it will iterate through this array, and inside the filter function, it will accept a method. The function is expecting a method. This method will accept the car and the index. We'll have the index as well, but here we don't need the index, so we can actually just remove it. And this function expects a Boolean value. What do I mean by Boolean value? That's true or false. And also comparisons like this will give us a Boolean value. So we are returning the value of this check. So let me come to our this place. This is our console, and then if you come back here, you see we now have only the cars that are Lexus. That Toyota Camry is not here anymore. Let me come again. Here I'm filtering down to the cars that are Lexus. So inside this filter method, the method will be receiving a function. And what will this function do? It will check if the car has a Lexus. Sorry, if the car is a Lexus, and then return us the car that is a Lexus. So if the value is true, it will be part of what we'll be getting. And if it is false, we'll not be getting it. Do we understand that? I guess we are lost. Or are we still connected? Sorry, can everyone still hear me? All right, this can be a little bit complex. So let me come back to my arrays. First of all, we have to understand that an array doesn't have to be a list of string. It can be a list of objects. It can be a list of integers. It can be a list of any data type. Do you understand that? So what I'm going to do now is to just carry my 3 cards. Carry them here. Right now I have car 1, car 2, car 3. So I'm working outside this object file so as not to confuse us. So in this arrays.html, I have car 1, car 2, and car 3. And then I want to have an array which is constant cars. is what? Car 1, sorry, car 1, car 2, and car 3. So let me do what? Let me console.log cars. Log the cars to the console. In my HTML, I'm coming back here, comments this out, and I'll comment my arrays.js. I can close this one as well. All right, so here I have my cars. Do you understand up to this extent? Here, I've not done anything yet. I'm just listing what I have in my array. Confirm if you understand up to this extent, everyone. Okay, all right. So now that I have an array of cars, what am I going to do? I want to get the cars that are Lexus. I want to get the cars that are Lexus. So what do? I'll say constant Lexus cars is what? Is cars dot filter. So when you say filter, you are filtering out something out of multiple things. So you are filtering down to what you need exactly. And this filter method is going to see a function, right? Inside this function, we have access to the particular car. So what this filter method will do, just like this map method, where we have the value, which is the instance, which is the particular item, which is the particular iteration of this list. We have the same thing here. We have a car. This is a singular car, which is one of these cars here. So when you say filter, it will go through all the cars one by one. Car 1, car 2, car 3, right? And then you have access to each car here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, all right. Like I said, this filter method expects a function, right? And then this function should return a boolean. All right, Daniel, you want to ask something? You want to say something?
Yes. My question is, this car that is going to be in that function, is it necessary that like, is it defined before, or we are just putting it there? That is what I want to know. Like, you already defined car 1, car 2, car 3 as objects already, and we already have an array of cars. So like this particular car now that you're putting in that function, have we defined it before, or we just put it there? That's what I want to know.
All right. So this car, this thing I am putting here, we didn't declare it anywhere. However, this function, this filter method, rather, when it is calling this function that we are passing in, it will give us access to that particular car. So let me come back. Let me take that again. This filter method is going to go through all the cars in this array one by one, and then for each of them, it will call this function, right? And again, when calling the function, it wants this filter method wants us to be able to access that particular car. Like I said, it will go through each of them, but it wants us to be able to check. Let's say Mr. Samuel, sorry, Sheyi, I'll be coming back to you. Mr. Samuel says I should give some of you guys something, right? And maybe we are in a group together, and I'm asking Mr. Samuel, okay, Mr. Samuel, is it Daniel that you want me to give that thing? Mr. Samuel will say yes. Is it James Aniedi? Mr. Samuel can say no. Is it Adebowale? You can say yes or no. You get. I'm iterating through each of us here, and then telling Mr. Samuel that, okay, this is the name of the person, or this is the person I'm with currently. Is this person applied, or is this condition applied to this person? Do you want me to give this person this thing as well? So Mr. Samuel can now tell me yes or no. That is the same thing we have here. We have a list of cars, right? And then we are filtering we are filtering down the car. We don't want all these cars. We need only Lexus cars, right? And then when this method is being run, it is giving us access to the particular car it is on. It is iterating through all this car rather, and then giving us access to the particular car that it is on for us to be able to run our check that we want to run. That does this filter applies to this car? And how do we know if this filter should apply to the car? We want to say return car dot model is Lexus. So if this condition is true, that means the car meets our criteria and it can now add it to the part of the Lexus cars. Let me come again. If this condition is true, that means this particular car meets our criteria, and the filter method can now add it to the list of Lexus cars. So if I come here and say console.log Lexus cars, and come back here, you can see I have my Lexus cars. This is Lexus and this is Lexus. Do we understand that? All right, so let me iterate again. Let me come back again. This filter method expects a function, and the function is expected to return a Boolean. All right, and I said this, if you can remember in one of our classes, this thing checks if this condition is true. So if model is equals to, if it is the same value as this, it will return true. And if it is not, it will return false. For some more reason I don't know. All right, Basi.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, I want to ask, you're using a function inside, is it necessary, or we can do it another way, where the way we did the push method, the way we were able to push a name to the list already, so we can like use that method to filter what we are looking for? I don't even understand what I'm saying, because
I'm not so sure I understand that, but let me try some. Let me try
okay. Where we have const Lexus cars.
All right, so you say const Lexus cars
equals to cars.filter.
Cars.filter.
Then you have the brackets. Then you put cars.model equals filter.
Models plus filter. That won't work. But let's try it. We should be cars.
No, I mean equals, sorry, Lexus rather.
All right,
Lexus. Yes.
I'm certain. No, I don't think so. All right, so this should be car, not cars. Car.model. Car is not defined. So the thing is that when you call this, when this
how
method,
about we use cars, because I mean we didn't define car here. It's not seen anywhere.
Okay.
Oh,
all right, let me explain that to you.
Okay.
When you trigger this this method, this filter method, the method is also triggering another function. It is not another function that will check if the value is true or false. And where is that function coming from? I mean that another function. It is the function that we passed in. And how are we passing in the function? Just like we did here. If you want to make it shorter, I think what you are trying to do is to make it shorter. If you want to make it shorter, you can use an arrow function. And this is how an arrow function looks like. Right? I think that's what we did here. This is what an arrow function looks like. So what are we trying to do? We want to have access to car. Inside this function, we have access to car. Don't forget, that's what we have here. We have access to the particular car that this iteration is with. So let me come back again, just with the example I made earlier. Mr. Johnson says I should give you guys something. When I come to your class or in a group that we are both in, I'll say, okay, now I'm with Fitzbasi. Is it Fitzbasi you want me to give this thing? Mr. Johnson can say yes, he can say no. I say, okay, I'll move to the next person. I'll say, Daniel is with me now. I'm with Daniel now. Is it Daniel you want me to give this thing? Mr. Johnson can say yes or no. Are you getting me? So if I now come here, I can say, I want to filter down. And then how does my filter know which car I want to remove and which car I want to add? Which means I have to be able to know the particular car that this filter is with. And then I can say, okay, this particular car will add it to the list. This one, remove it. Are you getting me? Now that I have access to the car, what do I want to check? I want to check if it is Lexus. Lexus. Model is Lexus. Sorry, it's Lexus. Yes. You can see our method is working now. But let me just give us another example so we can understand it better. Like I said, this thing expects a function. This filter expects a function. So let's declare a function. And say car is Lexus. This function expects the car we want to check, right? And then it's a function. So what would this do? You say car dot model is Lexus. So if it is Lexus, we want to, this thing will give us true or false, right? I want to say return, right? I'm commenting this out. Comment this out. So I want to say console.log car is Lexus. Which car do I want to check? Let's check for car 1. Car 1. Like I said, this thing will return either true or false. So if I come back here, you can say I have false. Why? Because my car 1 doesn't have, it's not a Lexus, it's a Toyota Camry. Are you getting me? What I'm doing here is checking if car 1, now I'm checking for just one car. If car 1 is Lexus, then it will give me true or false. And again, I can check for car 2. This is true. I can check for car 3. This is true again, right? Now, what I can do here is to say constant Lexus cars is what cars.filters should be cars.filter. Cars.filter. And then I said this thing expects what? A function. And we already have a function that will help us check if a car is Lexus or not. So what do? We just carry this our function here and put it here. I don't know if that explains this thing better. And then we can log our Lexus cars to the console. Let me comment this out and run our query again. You can see we still have our Lexus cars. So let me explain again. This filter method expects a function, and the method, and the function is expected to return either true or false. That will determine if a particular car will be added to this list or not. If it returns true, it means it is qualified to be on this list, and if it is false, it means it is not qualified to be on this list. Do you understand that? Daniel.
Okay, please, I wanted to ask, like in programming languages, like let's say C, the comparison operator, that's like to check equality sign, is usually 2. Why are we using 3 in JavaScript? Can't we use 2?
All right. We can use 2 as well. We can use 2, right? But when you use 2, it is not checking. It is only checking if the value is the same. It is not checking if the type, that's the data type. It is not checking if the data type is also the same. Are you getting me? Let me do that. Let me do that for you to see. Let me just come to the log. Let's say 2 is 2. This is an integer and this is a string. So let me come to my console. You can see I have true, which is not supposed to be. Why? Because this is an integer and this is a string. Though the values are the same, right? But the data type are not the same. This can give us issues when we are working on a very complex system and you are not putting this into consideration. A value can be coming as a string and you are expected to have an integer. If you are not using the type safety check, which is the 3 signs, it won't check for the type as well. It will only check for the value. So now that I have three guys, you can see I now have false. Why? Because this is a string and this is an integer. They are not the same thing. Though their values are the same, but the data type are not the same. So they do not meet that qualification. Does that answer your question? All right. So back to what we are doing. Does anyone have any question regarding this? Is there any case where you don't understand? Is there any case you want me to reiterate on? So I want to believe everyone now understand what array filter does. You filter what you need from a list of you filter out what you need from a list of items. Yes, from a list of items. I think what the issue here is, what issue you guys are having here is because I'm using car as my variable. I don't have to name it car. I can name it item, right? And I can say item.model. So we are going to iterate through these cars, and when you are with a particular car, to me, I'll say the car is an item. So if the model of the item is Lexus, then the item meets the criteria. It is now this filter that will now know that, okay, oh, the item that this man thinks I'm bringing is a car. This guy here, we don't have to name it car exactly. However, it is the best practice to name it the singular value of your plural lists. That's your plural array. Do we understand that? All right. I guess that will be all for today's class. I would have taken you on array reduce, but I feel like this feature is giving some of us a tough time. So I'll give us time to go and study that, and then in our next class we go to array reduce and some other array methods. All right, Mr. Johnson, are you still with us?
Yes, I am with,
Oh,
with you,
nice.
sir.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So I'm done for tonight. I don't want to take much of our time.
Thank you very much for that wonderful lecture and teaching. So I believe we've learned a lot today. So we should all practice, practice what we've learned, and we can go over the recording so that we can get better understanding. And if you want to ask questions before the class, please feel free to reach out to me or the structure, or drop your message on the Slack channel, and we'll pick it up from there. So I'll also be creating the assignment module for us to submit in the Google Classroom. So I'll drop in it in I'll let you guys know in the Slack channel. So thank you so much, Ayomide, for that wonderful session. And does anybody have anything to say? Before drop yes, I was going to say that. So thank you for bringing that up. So I'll be dropping the attendance in the class right now. Then everybody gets to feel that, and then we call it a night. We call it a night. So just one moment. Let me bring that up. So I'll just put it up in the chat.